Yo, what's up everyone? Daniel Yuck here. Thank you all for tuning in today. I appreciate it. Today we are going to go ahead and dive into the second episode of the Follow Along series. Now, for these first few episodes, I'm keeping it rather simple so that way you guys can go through the episodes multiple times should you choose to do so. So that way you can get acquainted with some basics such as stipple shading, lining, and this episode we're going to be doing font. So I'm trying to cover the basics in the first few episodes, so as we progress, the designs get more complex, we'll be more equipped to handle those designs. So for the second episode, we are going to be approaching this specific font right here, this specific script that literally says script, as you can see. It's just a simple word. As you can see, it does have some details there, so that makes it a bit more of a challenge. And for this, I do want it to be saturated full black like so. As you can see, it's just a simple word. It says script. This is the stencil up close. This is the Spirit stencil paper. I did a full review on this as well. So if you're interested in the paper that I'm using, this is Spirit stencil paper. I will go ahead and leave links in the description below for you. With that being said, I'm gonna go ahead and basically we're gonna start running through this here. I will also leave links for this specific stencil right here in the download section or in the description for you, so that way you can download it on your end. So just to reiterate, I'm gonna go ahead and leave links to this specific design for you so you can go ahead and download it, print it out, draw it out however you need to do so to go ahead and put it onto your practice skin. So once you're at the stage where you have the stencil in front of you, let's go ahead and proceed accordingly. What we are going to go ahead and do is we're going to apply the stencil. Now to apply the stencil, I'm always using my trusty speed stick when I'm using fake skin. I don't use this on real tattoos on human skin, or tattoos on human skin rather. So I'm going to go ahead and apply it to this section here. I think that I'm going to actually place it down kind of like so, because I want to go ahead and save that for episode 3. I don't want to go ahead and put it right here and then have to, use more skins. So I'm gonna go ahead and place this way. Go ahead and find wherever you want to go ahead and place the script text down on your end. That's how I'm gonna go ahead and do it on mine. If you followed along and place your stencil in a similar spot to where I place mine, then you should be able to go ahead and apply it the way that I'm applying it right now. So I'm gonna go ahead and remove some excess speed stick. Not too much. I don't want too much on, I don't want too little. So now I'm gonna go ahead and see if I could apply it. Applying a little bit of pressure. I'm not pressing down too hard. I am applying pressure over the curvatures and where it flows on the actual text, because I want that to be in the stencil. And then when I'm done, I'm gonna go ahead and peel slowly so that way I can go ahead and see if I missed out on any parts. But as you can see, it came out really nice. We have a purple outline as well, which I'm not a fan of, but we can go ahead and remove. But overall, it did come out well. I'm gonna place a napkin over and press down to absorb any excess deodorant that may still exist on the skin as much as I can. Took off a little bit. Should you choose to do so, you can go ahead and remove that purple outline. I typically just get my napkin, have it swirled like so into like a little pin shape at the end, and I kind of go like that all the way around. Now what I'm doing here is I'm removing the excess outline simply because I don't want that to stay on the practice skin for the presentation. So that's the reason why I remove it. If you're not really going to keep it for presentation, then by all means you don't have to do that. As you can see, I did make a little mistake there where I removed a little bit of that S, but it's neither here or there for me. I can still follow the stencil perfectly. You just want to be careful. So what I'm gonna go ahead and do is I'm gonna turn this around so that way I can get precise. I don't turn it when I'm tattooing, but since I'm just removing the edge, I can go ahead and do that. We're not tattooing or anything. So there we have it right there. That's how the stencil came out. As you can see, it came out great, nice, bold, and saturated. Now, right now, we will not be doing any tattooing. We're gonna wait, again, the 24 hours, 12 to 24 hours. We're gonna go ahead and come back. We're gonna let this sit and set, so that way when we start tattooing and get to wiping, we don't lose the stencil. So as you see, almost on that S right there, I started wiping it away. Had I continued to do so, we would have lost this saturated stencil. That's not what I'm trying to do. So we're gonna go ahead and let this rest for 12 to 24 hours. We're gonna go ahead and we're going to come back, and upon doing so, we're gonna go ahead and continue, figure out what needle configuration we're gonna use, the entire 9. So please be patient with me as we were on episode 1. Go ahead and let it dry. 24 hours later, we're gonna come back and we are going to proceed. So we are here 24 hours later, give or take. I think it's around 23 hours and some change. I want to wipe away the stencil. The reason why I wipe away the entire tattoo stencil prior to beginning is because the longer that it sits, the more darker it'll be, which will show up in your stencil when you're done. So if you don't want, or it'll show up in your tattoo when you're done rather. So if you don't want that, simply remove it all. How I do that is I take Vaseline and I just work it into the tattoo like so. And I suppose this kind of loosens up the darker layer of the stencil. And as you can see, it's gradually lightening up. And I'm applying a bit of pressure as well to all of the spots, working the Vaseline into the skin there. And then I'm going to wipe away here, just all of the excess. And as you can see, what we are left with is a stencil. Now, I can't wipe this away, like this lighter part. Even if I tried, you may be able to dip it in bleach, you know, and leave it in there, and it may come off. But nonetheless, this is where we were trying to get the stencil. This is why I advise and encourage you all to be patient and let these stencils sit for 12 to 24 hours, because you're left with this. See, I'm trying to remove it. It just does not come off. That's exactly how we want it, which is going to make the workflow much easier, which is going to make the workflow better. The same rule of thumb applies to human skin as well. The longer you leave the stencil, the harder it is going to be to come off. You get my drift with that. So I encourage you all, be patient upon letting the stencil dry. These are the results that you will get. Let's go ahead and proceed accordingly. Now, for this specific script font, I'm going to go ahead and approach it with the CNC Q1. I'm going to be using the WX2 wireless power supply. I'm starting off with a Quill bug pin 11 round liner, and then I'm going to go ahead and switch over to a 5 round liner long taper for this part right here. So that's the needle configuration that I'm going to use. For you, the needle configuration may vary. You may have picked different size needles, but that was basically the thought process and configurations that I chose to use for this specific script right here. Now, when I approach this sort of, or when I approach font in general, me personally, I typically start outlining the font. So let me go ahead and demonstrate. I'm gonna go ahead and apply a little bit of Vaseline. And then what I'm gonna go ahead and do is proceed accordingly. So I'm going to start from this A right here, and I'm going to B it right here. So that's my A to B marks, as you all can see. I'm going to pull that line, and this is just me personally. This is how I would begin this specific approach. And keep in mind, we are doing full solid black here, so that's going to be a variable that you want to consider. Some fonts you may do some shading right here. Every text is going to be different. So for this one, we're going to keep it very straightforward and simple, so we can get the idea behind what we're trying to achieve here. And that is doing good font. So you can go ahead and begin outlining it like so. And you can go ahead and take whatever steps you choose to take. From here, you can go ahead and either outline this way. You could fill in should you choose to do so. The choice would be up to you. For me, I'm going to fill in. I don't want to do anything fancy just yet, as I don't want to make this specific episode difficult. I want to gradually implement more difficult tasks. So I'm using the same needle configuration to fill in here. And I'm just making sure I take my time to saturate it, as I don't want it to look patchy. I am now going to proceed to just keep building this tattoo here. Sorry about that. Camera's very, very close to me as I tattoo. Now I'm going to go around here and pull the line this way. So that's what we're going to go ahead and proceed to do. As you see right here though, I am making sure that I'm staying on the very edge of the stencil, so I'm not creating any more space. I'm following the stencil as is. I started feeling uncomfortable, so I pulled that line out there. And I'm basically going to repeat that on the other side. Steady and consistent, making sure I follow the stencil to the T. I don't create any more space. And when I say create space, I mean I don't go outside the stencil and make the S a little bit more form than it would have normally been. I'm following the original stencil right here to the T as best as I can. And I'm going to be talking a lot about that through this entire process here. So that way we really get used to doing that. And I guess especially with font, I'm really cautious about following it to the T because it's supposed to look a certain way. You don't want to deviate and try and get fancy. So right here as well, we're going to go ahead and just keep following without creating any extra space. So for right here, I tapered in the middle of the S simply because we're gonna fill all of this in anyway. So I'm very confident in my tapering ability. So when I taper this way, it's gonna come out great. And then I can just fill it in. You're not gonna notice that I did that. So what I'm going to do now is go from this way to this way. Tapering out right there, and as you can see, it looks like one solid line. And again, you don't have to take these specific motions that I'm taking. You can go ahead and just follow along. Whatever line feels more comfortable to you on your end to pull first, by all means, go ahead and do that one. I'm not here to tell you this one's going to be the right one to pull first and this one's going to be the correct one to pull next. I'm going to go ahead and A from here to here on this S right here, making sure I don't create any extra unwanted space. I'm literally just following the edge of the S right here. You can go ahead and fill in as you go. You can fill in later. Me personally, I would much rather let's say if this was on human skin, my approach would be to fill it in now, so that way I don't have to go back to that later when it's super sensitive for them. Right now the wounds are fresh, their adrenaline's pumping, so it's better to just fill it in right now. So I'm gonna go ahead and highlight the entire, or not highlight, I'm gonna outline the entire S. I'm gonna move this line to this line here, as you all see me. And then after I go ahead and pull these lines, I will go ahead and begin to fill that in. I'm gonna go ahead and begin filling in this S up here, and filling in, just take your time. You don't want to rush it. I feel if you do it right the first time, you won't have to go back over so many times. As you can see, I'm literally just going in circles right here, back and forth, left to right, right to left, working my way down. That's how I approach this. You can get a mag too, should you choose, and turn it to its side. I don't want to do that. I don't feel comfortable doing that. I have a needle that's more than capable of filling this area in a timely manner. All the way through. And this right here, I'm picturing it right now if this was on human skin. This right here is why I would rather fill in as I go, because I don't want to do this to them and come back to the skin after I've already gotten this far and have to fill it in. I'm sure people do that. I'm sure, you know, tattooists out there do go ahead and outline the entire thing and then fill it in. To each their own. It's not necessarily wrong, but for me, I don't see any problem with filling it in right now. So as you can see, we have that S pretty much filled in, and it's looking great. It's looking nice from my view up here. Nice and saturated. I'm just gonna go ahead and just keep building the tattoo like that. So the next part I'm gonna go ahead and do is this part right here on this S, and then we're gonna go ahead and begin filling in everything here. Nice and steady here. How I look at packing black is if I get to the spot and hit it right the first time, then I won't need to go back over and over, touch up and stuff like that. So with that thought process, it allows me to take a much more slowed approach, a much more patient approach. So that way I do it right the first time. And I'm still learning that as we go as well. I'm gonna go ahead and bring it up over here a little bit. So now I'm gonna go ahead and proceed to finish this side of the S, and then we're gonna fill it in. So I'm gonna go ahead and start from over here. Then I'm going to go ahead and repeat that over here on this side. And on parts like that, you want to be careful on human skin because that is an area for a blowout. So when you have to go over areas multiple times, that's areas that you really just want to be cautious of. Be mindful of how deep you're going. Be delicate and be gentle, be patient. So that way you get the ink where you need to get to and you don't really blow anything out. You don't go in there and do some crazy stuff to the skin, scar anybody up, you know, stuff like that. Go ahead and proceed to build. Just gonna go ahead and fill this piece in right here. Now I'm going to go ahead and fill in this part of the S right here. I'm just going to go ahead and fill in all of this side of the S right here. Any areas that you're going over more than once, just always be mindful of the skin. Look at the skin, be mindful of how deep you're going. I'm gonna go ahead and leave this video real time so that way you guys can see and hear me tattoo here, and when I speak real time you all can hear me speak real time to you all. But I also don't want to fast forward because I don't want you all to feel rushed throughout this process. I don't want you to have to pause the video either. If I'm faster as a tattooist, that's not anything to be proud of. Just simply pause the video. Or if I'm slower over what you are, that's nothing to be, you know, discouraged about. Just simply pause it and fast forward, or do what you have to do to go ahead and align it to your workflow, to align the videos to your workflow. By all means, I do encourage you to best adjust the videos that I put out for you for your workflow. Let me know how you're running things on your end. Comment down below. I'm very interested to hear what machines you're using, if you're using coils or the needle configurations. Let me know all of that down below. So now that we got that part filled as well, I'm just going to go ahead and proceed here. Now we're going to go ahead and move on to the C. For these little details right here, it's gonna be subjective. You can go ahead and pause, you get your smaller configuration and do those now, should you choose to do so. For me, I think that we should go ahead and pop in the 5 round liner long taper and just knock out these little ones right here. So this is going to be a WJX 5 round liner. So I'm gonna go ahead and just knock these out. Now, if you're wondering what made me switch to the 5 round liner over keeping the bug pen 11 round liner, is because this part right here, you see that little taper out, how it tapes, tapes to a little fine point. The bug pen 10 round or the 11 round liner wouldn't have done that for me. It wouldn't have gave me that look. So that is why, if you're curious, that is why I chose to go with a smaller configuration for these details right here, because of that right there. And then I can just go ahead and fill in the insides right here with the same one. Be careful when you're working with this small of a configuration. You don't need much pressure at all. So if you're pressing if you're pushing a 3 round liner, 5 round liner the same way you would an 11 round liner, then you're gonna possibly do some serious damage to the skin. So be real mindful when you're pushing smaller configurations like this 5 round liner or 3 round liner. These we barely want to work off the tip of our needle, always. So as you can see, I'm filling it in with the 5 round liner. Just practical approaches. That's why I choose different configurations, because of different things like that. I wouldn't have gotten that same effect with the 11 round liner as I stated. So that's my thought process. Again, as I stated in episode 1 and the stippling on human skin, I'm always thinking of practical approaches to achieve the look that I'm going for. I'm never really winging my tattoos. I don't think like to myself, maybe I can try this here or this here. When I am thinking like that creatively, I'm doing that sort of technique, or I'm practicing whatever may be at hand on fake skin, never on a human, because I have much more room for error on fake skin. So we went ahead and filled that in there. Looks great. I'm gonna go ahead and proceed to doing this part right here. We might as well just do all the little pieces here while we have the 5 round liner active here. It's gonna be difficult because the camera's so close to me. Let's see. We'll start from this one, come around here. As you can see as well, I wiped so many times and we could still see the stencil, and we're still putting the lines where we need to put them because we allowed it to sit and set for those 24 hours. That is why I highly encourage you all to wait, as your workflow is going to be seamless and smooth as I feel it should be, like how it is right now for me. I like to set up my tattoos so that it's all on me. Like, I just have to apply it correctly, technically apply the ink where I need to put it, put the shading in the correct spots that I see fit, etc., etc. So you've been with me every step of the way here. You've heard every choice that I've made, pretty much all of my decisions on why I'm making the choices that I am. Just practical approaches is just what makes more sense to me here. Then I'm gonna go ahead and run it back this way. For the 5 round liner, as you notice here, I am moving a bit faster over what I would on the bug pin 11 rod liner, just because of the finer needle configuration. Go ahead and flare that out there a little bit. Very, very nice so far. So far, so great. Little by little, you're building the tattoo up. As you all can see, it's starting to come together. Just gonna go ahead and A and B it from here to here, starting this way. I apologize if it goes out of focus a bit here when I'm pulling these lines. The camera chooses what it wants to focus on at certain times. Or my glove may get in the way. Now for this little wrap right here, this is a bit tricky. So how I'm going to do it is, either way, it really feels natural to me. So I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna approach it this way, and I'm gonna meet it halfway. So I'm gonna start right here. Taper around. If I need to, I will taper out. Right there, as you all can see. Now for you, it may feel comfortable one way over the other. Whichever way feels more comfortable to pull these lines, do it that way. That's the way that you're gonna wanna pull your lines. So right here, I'm gonna go ahead and come this way, out this way. I'm just gonna go ahead and fill in this little piece right here. And then from here, I'm gonna taper up this way. Go up this way, and then I'll taper out. So as you can see, we got one fluid motion there. Or it looks like we got one fluid motion there. And then from here, I'm gonna go ahead and pull this one out this way, like so. And I'm filling in these spots as I go, so I don't have to come back to them. Making sure I stay patient, consistent every time I put the needle in, so that way I don't have to touch it up, or I know that I do it right the first time. And I'm gonna go ahead and just keep building as you see me doing here. I'm gonna go ahead and move this up a little bit. We're gonna continue building the tattoo up right here. Now the next line that I'm gonna pull is pretty apparent off the bat, and it's gonna be from here to here. So I'm gonna go ahead and start this way, naturally pull it this way. Smooth, just taking my time. Then I'm gonna go ahead and proceed here and do that again to this side. Go back and fill in everything right here. What I'm gonna go ahead and do from here is also I'm gonna go ahead and leave that like that. And I'm gonna go ahead and do this part right here. So that way we can go ahead and go back with the 11 round liner and complete the tattoo. Might as well go ahead and fill it in right now as I'm going, for the reason I stated. Throughout this series, you're gonna notice that my thought process, my logic behind my tattooing is very simple, it's very straightforward, it's very practical. Last part that I see right here is going to be with right here. This probably would have worked as well with a 7 round liner. To each their own. And then now I'm just filling out this part right here. I really take my time, especially when I'm packing, because I don't want my packing to be spotty or anything like that. I want it to look saturated, consistent all the way through. So when I'm packing and pulling my lines, I really take my time and make sure that my hand speed, my voltage, my depth, everything is aligned correctly. So now that we got that done, we probably are able to now switch back over to the 11 round liner. So I'm gonna do that. So far the CNC Q1 has been running smoothly. No issues, no complaints whatsoever about that tattoo machine, in case anyone's wondering. I did do a full in-depth review on it as well. But at the moment, so far, so great. I'm loving this machine. We are also at 7.5. We've been running at 7.5 this entire video. We have not changed the voltage. I'm just gonna proceed to finish the tattoo out. So right here, I'm gonna just start with the C. And that's why I don't really like to fill up my needle cartridge tip with too much ink, because of that right there. I don't like excess amounts of ink coming out like that. Go ahead and pull the line next from here to here, or this way to this way. I don't think it would really matter. I'm gonna start this way to this way. They both felt pretty smooth to me.
See, so like before I pull the lines, I'm naturally thinking of the motions that I'm going to make. And over time, I'm noticing that this exercise, thinking about my comfortability and motions that I'm going to take to pull the line, allows me to see the stencil much more differently, if you will. I will go ahead and explain more as we get into more difficult designs. I can elaborate more on that, but I wanted just to point that out as well. I'm gonna go ahead and just fill in this part of the C. So the C is done. I'm just basically building a tattoo like so. I'm not rushing, I'm not doing anything fancy, there's nothing special to it. I'm going around the stencil making sure that I'm not creating any excess space or changing the stencil in any way, shape, or form. Following it to the T as best as I possibly can. So as you can see, I felt comfortable to pull that line like that, so I went ahead and I did so. Every line is going to be different for you. So we're making progress. Everything is coming out smooth. I'm gonna move that over a bit. I'm gonna go ahead and do this part of the R, starting from this way, following it around this way. I'm gonna go ahead and bring it up, just because I felt that was the most comfortable approach. Then I can go ahead and fill it in. If you're behind me or if you're ahead of me, you can go ahead and speed this up. You can slow this down, you can pause it, whatever you need to do so that way you can stay following along as best as you can on your end. I do encourage you though not to skip any of the courses, as we'll be, like the first one we went over simple rolls with lining and shading. Simple shading, simple lining. This one we're doing some font. The next one we're gonna be doing something else. The next one's gonna be something else, and you get the drift there. So I do recommend that you stick with them and you do them one by one in order, so that way you can progress as the courses do. Forgive me for that angle, or for the awkward angles if it's been awkward for you. I'm trying to give you an up close look here at this. I'm gonna go ahead and finish off this eye. I'm going to repeat the process back this way. And when you're doing that, for example, right here, I had went over this way, and then I had went back this way. So on human skin, this area would have been sensitive. So you really want to be mindful of areas like that. So that way, when you're pulling them on human skin, you don't oversaturate, potentially causing a blowout. You don't go too deep. Because basically the skin's already sensitive in that area. So if you come back with a similar or harder approach, then chances of you blowing out the skin or leaving trauma are more greater. So that's why I say be mindful of where the needle has already been and know when to taper in and out of certain areas. Finish off the eye. Let me take off excess. All we need now is the P and the T, and this is pretty much a wrap. Details I always add in last, or you can add them in as you go, doesn't really matter. Again, this all comes down to what feels right to you. I'm not gonna sit here and make this YouTube channel about me telling you right and wrong and, oh, you're tattooing wrong, or why are you tattooing like that. I'm just trying to show you all a workflow and a better way. I'm trying to shed some positivity and help you all through your journey as you all help me. Pulling the P up this way, around that way. I'm going to remove the excess. I'm going to repeat that same process. Around like so. Now this P is ready to be filled. It does show that it intertwines right here, so we're gonna go ahead and put that in there as well. Then you just want to get to filling this in. One thing that I've noticed is that me personally, I think it's much easier to saturate human skin over practice skin. However, if you learn to saturate on practice skin without like adverse textures or beating up the skin, then you're well on your way to saturating human skin. But practice skin is much more difficult to work with. Very nice and saturated. That piece came out great. I'm loving it when this tattoo's coming out. It's coming out great. Hope you're still with me in this video. If you are, I genuinely appreciate you. I'm gonna do the P now, and I'm filling in as I'm going again because I'm just thinking of this tattoo skin as my client. I want to get the hard parts over, and packing the black is never easy. This is where the needle drills into areas larger than the lines, so therefore the discomfort may be more for the client, and I think about that. So those are the parts that I pretty much try to get to first, so that way we get the hard part done. And me professionally, I think that just filling in along the way is a better way to go. Let me know what you think in the comment section down below. Let me know how you approach it. I'm very curious to hear your workflow and how you approach, you know, doing lettering. And this is going to be the last letter here with some details. I'm gonna bring this all the way down. Now typically when letters have like little details on them, such as this T and the I did, I typically draw the line straight in first, or tattoo the line straight in as you see. And then I will go ahead and go back and implement the detail, filling out this area, being very mindful and soft of how much I go in, as we've already tattooed a line past this here. So as you see, that's how I approach that right there. I do the details after I've pulled the line steady and consistent. We'll go ahead and repeat the process over here. Taper it that way for now. Go ahead and bring it this way and repeat that process, but this way here. Up this way. And then this one needs a little bit of thickening as well. That's the outline of a T pretty much there. And go ahead and repeat that process up here. We're gonna go this way around this way. You can go right through should you choose to do so. Just be mindful of those lines that you already went over. Taper back in that way as you see. I'm gonna go back around this way and finish this side out over here. Typically I would fill in this T, so we're gonna go ahead and just proceed as we normally did this entire tattoo, just filling in all the spots. So that way we get that discomfort over with for the client. After that, we could finish that last detail that you see here off the T. Just one fill here rather. You never want to do this quickly, as I've been mentioning. always take your time. Just make sure you can do it right or to the best of your ability the first time. So that way the majority of your tattoos don't need any touch-ups. And I'm sure that every tattoo can always use more. You know, a true artist can always keep going on, but clients can only sit a certain amount of time. So you always got to consider that as a priority over how you want it to look, because you can want it to look a certain way. You may need to still do this, this, and this, but the client doesn't have the stamina or energy left to take the pain anymore. And that's one thing that you have to be considerate of, which is why another reason why I'm filling in along the way. The last part is going to be this right here, and it is a wrap for us. Let's go ahead and pull that last detail here. Take our time. There is no rush. Start on this side over here. So bring it around. Pull out there. Repeat that process over here. After that, I'm going to go ahead and just simply pull the line from left to right. Just like that. And that is it. It is a wrap. We are officially done with this tattoo right here. The client can now get up, go to the mirror, check it out. I always use my imagination and envision that. Let me go ahead and bring you all up close so that way you guys can see what the tattoo looks like up close. So let's go ahead and do that. So as you can see, the font up close, it looks great. It looks wonderful. It came out exactly as I wanted it to. I'm very, very happy with the results. I'm also very, very interested to see how your tattoo came out. If you're still following along, please, I highly encourage you to submit and send your tattoos that we do together into my email at yuckmadethis@gmail.com, yuckmadethis@gmail.com. I'm very eager and interested to check out your works of art on your end. If you're following along, I genuinely appreciate your support. It means a lot to me. But this is it. This is what we have here. If I didn't touch base on anything specific at some point throughout this video that you specific may have wanted to know, please, by all means, feel free to drop it in the comments down below. I'm going to do my best to assist you in the best possible direction per usual. If you're not, be sure to go ahead and give me a follow on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and TikTok, as I would genuinely appreciate your support as well. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button and ring that bell, as I will be bringing more videos like this. Thank you for tuning in yet again. You have a great day.